What is up? We are live from Matt. We are live from TCA 2024. Welcome to the Driving Forward podcast. Welcome to the Driving Forward podcast. It's August 8th. It's September 4th. Happy Halloween. It's October 31st. It's Thursday, November 7th. Thank you for tuning in to the Driving Forward podcast. I'm extremely excited to welcome Amanda Schuier, a fourth generation trucking industry professional and the strategic maintenance director at JetCo Delivery. Amanda, welcome to the show.
What's up? Your intro music is like hype music. Like that was awesome. I'm super impressed. That was good.
No,
that was good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We made that. That's actually, we're coming up on our year here shortly. Technically, we're over a year, but we started doing weekly shows in the first week of November last year. And that's one of the first things people said. And I've never changed the intro. We've never changed the intro since we started. So it's a great truck.
Perfect.
And it's good music. So
yeah, never change.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that music has to stay the same. And the only thing I'd ever want to do is actually, instead of having the animated Pete, go out and get the real one.
There we go.
A real red one going down the road, have the iconic truck. So
that's awesome. Love it.
So if anyone has any comments, if anyone wants to heckle Amanda, feel free. So we talked about this beforehand, so I might as well just throw it out there. Feel free, throw your comments in chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. Once again, Amanda, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Let me know, or if you can, tell people about yourself. Let's hear the Amanda story.
The Amanda story. You don't want to hear all that.
Well, the brief, abridged version.
The abridged version. Yeah. I mean, you said it well in the start. I'm actually a fourth generation member of the trucking industry. So my great grandfather owned a trucking company, and then my grandfather owned a Mack truck dealership. And, I grew up there as a kid. I have a picture that I keep on my desk of me at 18 months sitting on the hood of a Mack truck. So grew up around it. And then my dad and uncle both worked in the industry, but my dad became a dentist. And I actually have a degree in journalism and Spanish. And so trucking was actually not on my career path. But I was laid off from a job and looking on good old monster.com, and a truck dealership in Kansas City needed a marketing person. And so that's kind of how I got connected to the industry. And yeah, that was 18 years ago when I was 12, got my start. So yeah. And, honestly, like I just fell into it. But I love the people, and it's just been so awesome. And like you said, like the trajectory I've followed since I got my start in the industry has been a lot of fun.
No, that's awesome. You brought something up, which is, not very many of us started out our career paths with the intention of going into transportation. I've had this discussion with a lot of people on the show and countless people throughout my career. I certainly didn't go down that route either. My original intent was law enforcement. Is that you kind of on the same page there? The vast people that you're working with coming from other industries as well. Are you in agreement there?
Yeah, I think so. I think I know quite a few people in the industry who have that like familial tie like I do. But then I think there's a lot of people who just fall into it. And, whatever circumstance it is, I think a lot of people who fall into it stay in it, which is cool.
I always say if you make it a year, you're in for a lifetime.
I feel like that's probably an accurate statement. Yeah.
Do you think that this is changing a little bit with newer generations, that maybe some people are coming into the industry with intent with maybe the younger generation, or do you feel like it's still the same way that it always has been?
It's It's a zinger. I think what I'm starting to see, like I've, seen some dedicated like supply chain programs is really cool, right? So I think the intent there obviously is go through those programs and come out and work in the industry. But I do a lot of work with a local high school up the road, and not many of those kids are like, hey, I'm going to go into trucking, right? It's been really interesting. Just this last year, I started working at a local high school, and hearing the perceptions of trucking from the high school students was really interesting. And, being able to help reframe that to some of them was really fun for me and like really satisfying. But a lot of the perception is, oh, it's unsafe. You don't make money. It's a terrible lifestyle. Like all of that definitely still exists. And so I still think it's a tougher sell to get people to say like, hey, I want to make my career in trucking compared to other fields.
Oh, that's a great topic too. We actually didn't discuss that or even talk about discussing that ahead of time, which is just that career path from high school into transportation. And that's, I think, one of the hiccups is, to some point, the supply chain side and even the logistics, potentially brokerage side, has a pathway through higher education or programs, whether that's VOTEC or a 4-year school or whatever the case may be. But certainly, the driver side, you can't do that coming out of high school. Well, not easily. There's obviously a pilot program going on right now. But you really can't do that. So the career path for a driver is not there. So you graduate high school, you got to go figure out your life another way and then come back, or basically not like what you did and then fall into driving. So I find that that's the same way for trucking operations largely as well. No one's really, that career path, why there's so many people in trucking operations, that career path doesn't track the same way as supply chain.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. So this class that I was working with last year was actually an alternative math class of all things, which is super random, but I love what they were doing. And they were having speakers from different industries come in and talk about careers that you can take without a degree. And so they had, welders come in, they had plumbers come in, and, here I come in representing trucking, and the teacher made him guess what I did. And not one of them guessed trucking, obviously. But you're absolutely right. So I think what we have to do, as trucking companies is figure out creative ways to get younger people involved. So I might not be able to hire a truck driver, but I can hire a warehouse worker, right? I can hire a customer service representative to train into dispatch, things like that we can show that career path. I think you're absolutely spot on in that regard. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's 100%. There's a way to go down that route to bring someone in early on but I don't think companies also advertise for that either. I mean, it's been a disconnect, and instead we end up getting a second and third career choice, so which isn't always a bad thing. I mean, actually the skill sets that when Tim Kralinski was on, he was talking about a training program that they had developed, and the people that had developed it were former teachers that are now working at his company. So that's something where you're bringing in a skill set that you wouldn't get if you're developing your own. So there's a mix of that. That's interesting. So you had kind of touched on this a little bit. How do you see mentorship playing? Mentorship's always been there. I don't think it's been structured, but you're obviously doing some level of mentorship. So what kind of role do you see mentorship playing in the trucking industry? And how do you recommend industry veterans like yourself can help guide new talent as they're entering the industry, or even as they've been established, moving forward from there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm a huge proponent of mentorship, right? And I think mentorship can take many different forms. I think sometimes it's just a casual conversation, with somebody at a meeting, an industry event, hey, do you have any questions I can answer for you? Right. I think sometimes it's more structured, doing some of what I've been doing at the local high school. I count that as mentorship. I know there's a couple industry associations that are making like classes or pools of mentors and mentees, and I'm excited about those. I think one thing that is important for industry veterans, kind of like us, is to not only be the mentor, but still continue to be the mentee. Like I still have mentors in my career at this point, right? And I think that those are people that I depend on for, kind of my career advice and being my hype squad and talking to me about, things that I have questions about. I don't think you're ever like too old for a mentor. And I certainly think that, especially, like I said, kind of growing up in this industry, I've had to have, several people to kind of run things by and bounce things off of. And so I don't think you're ever too old for a mentor.
I agree. You always are at a different phase in life. So you're always at a different phase in life. You're always looking for the next step. I think we talked a little bit about that before we came on, and your next journey, you always can use advice on. Maybe you take that advice differently. You have different experiences, but mentorship, and sometimes you don't necessarily know who a mentor is until you look back 10 years and you go, wow, these are the mentors in my life. And they didn't know that they were a mentor at that time. So, taking the action of an advisor to people, I think is great. But I think, just listening to people and learning from their skills, where you're going next, that's awesome. So I knew this comment was coming in, and I knew he would probably be the first one. So thanks, Matt. But absolutely, I agree. And that's a wonderful point. And
I paid him $10 for that.
Paid him $10.
Yeah.
So I thought his hourly rate was a little higher than
Enjoy that coffee there, Mr. Leffler. I'm cheap.
So fair enough.
If your fleet's downtime looks like chaos, you're missing out on GLCS. In the fast-paced world of trucking and logistics, time is everything. Meet GLCS, your expert partner in managed IT services. We integrate seamlessly with your team, bringing seasoned IT professionals with deep transportation and logistics expertise. Imagine your software updates running smoothly, complex issues resolved quickly, and operations humming with efficiency. GLCS has your back. Our support doesn't just fix problems, it prevents them. With our industry connections and proactive approach, we keep your trucks rolling and your brokers working. Think of us as the added resource your company needs to unleash its full potential. Visit glcs.net today and keep your business driving forward. GLCS, where efficiency meets expertise.
It's August 8th, and thank you for tuning in to Driving Forward Podcast. Whether you're joining us live or listening in on one of our 18 platforms, including Wreaths Across America Radio, where we are broadcast every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. We appreciate your support. Joining us today is Chad Olesen. Chad is the Chief Executive Officer of AVRL. Chad has been at the helm of AVRL since January or so of 2017. And under his leadership, AVRL has achieved a remarkable milestone, including securing the 626th spot on the Inc. 5000 list. AVRL's innovative platform is sophisticated decision-making. It's a sophisticated decision-making technology platform designed to be manageable by non-technical workforces. With proprietary technology, it converts complex domain expertise into rich decision trees, enabling users to leverage rich APIs, sophisticated chatbots, automated content, serving mechanisms, and robotic process management. I have more to go. Throughout all of this,
I have over the last few years begun calling Chad affectionately Don Chad, the Godfather of Freight Automation. Chad's vision and leadership have driven AVRL to deliver outstanding customer ROI, including a 300% increase in net new shipments, a 100% reduction in time, a 10x increase in volume, a 15x greater lead time for securing capacity. His passion for automation and technology is evident in every aspect of his work. We're thrilled to have Chad on the show today to discuss the future of freight automation, the challenges and opportunities in the logistics industry, and have a little debate. Welcome, Chad.
Thank you very much for having me, Nate. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So I couldn't resist the Godfather thing here. So
I love it. I can't remember who told me this like the first time. It maybe was you, but there's a lot of people who refer to us as this, and I think that they think of our company as relatively new. They don't know that we were asked to come into transportation in like December 2019. So we've been around for a little while.
Yeah, I don't remember. I heard the Godfather of Freight Automation maybe, and then I threw Don Chad in front of it. I think that's probably where that came up. But yeah, I heard that some time ago. I don't think I came up with Godfather of Freight Automation. So if I did, good for me. But I'm pretty sure that's not the case. So we'll kick this back to normal here. So
well, that view actually looked better than the client's office that I'm in right now. So
fair enough. So if you're, I've been in some offices that you just see the lines of everyone where they sit, and everything else is dust or back when I first started, everything was etched by the nicotine stains of the industry. So
that's so funny.
We don't see that very often anymore. So how have things been? I mean, last time I saw you was in Atlanta at Future Supply Chain. So, but how have things been for you?
Been busy. We're really, really busy. Onboarding new customers, traveling, trying to help take more significant role in the change management and adoption of technology. And yeah, I think we're taking an important role. Something that you also participate in is 3PLs, carriers need not just new technology, not just emerging technology, but best in class technology. And with that, the implementation of technology impacts so many different pieces across the organization that change management becomes this forefront piece. And that could be teaching people how to use their Power BI, how to look at data, how to understand data, how to find trends in items. And ultimately, my team is just continuously taking a larger and larger role in the change management piece, which has put me on the road quite a bit, but also changed our hiring strategies, et cetera.
Yeah, change management is probably one of the largest components, especially the larger piece of technology that you're purchasing, the more people that it touches. Is it impactful? Something that we get involved with a lot is driver-facing technology. And certainly if you're touching the driver, there's a lot of change involved. And if you're touching the people who impact the driver, there's a lot of change that's involved because the risk that's involved is massive. So, the change management, the larger the company, the larger the technology solution that's being deployed, the more change management that's required, the more education that's required for it. Also, what's the stretch from point A to B? Is the process. So one of the questions I was going to ask you, and of course, take it for what you will, but define automation. Before I go into my next statement, define automation.
So define something that's probably the most overly used word in transportation. Is that what you're asking me to do? The way that we define automation at AVRL is the replication or enhancement of a current process that exists today. when we think of the processes that we're trying to impact, we're automating the execution of data between systems. Okay. So back in 2019, one of my customers, behemoth retailer, introduced me to an intermodal company, and they were struggling to use what's called robotic process automation, RPA. And RPA essentially mimics like mouse movement on a screen, keystrokes, etc. The challenge is deploying RPA in web is awful. Like it will break if an XPath change breaks, if someone updates a page, it will wreck a system. And so you like take like a customer like an Anheuser-Busch InBev, there's 500 XPath changes on that page a day. If you try and use RPA, so web scraping technology, to do it, it will be broken constantly. We had taken a proprietary approach to going in and manipulating HTML. And when you do that, all of a sudden you can anchor the page, you can read source IDs, you can do really complex things. And so what we've been so focused on is how do I automate the execution between the shipper system and the 3PL's TMS or the carrier's TMS with or without APIs. APIs exist much easier. Without them, I essentially need to turn the shipper system into a system that can be as if there were an API. And so this, I mean, the use cases scale far vastly than we could we'd spend literally all day about use cases. But for us, we have all these high touch areas where a 3PL's ops team or a carrier's ops team is constantly going into the shipper system to do something. It could be as simple as like an invoice rate verification. They need to stop doing that work and let the automation do those repetitive tasks because it costs too much to serve the client if a human is constantly doing these tasks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I appreciate the definition there. and what I locked on to and what I was hunting for was the automation of a process or the repetitive deployment of a process. The digitization of a process is typically how we define it. And that clean process is important, which requires clean data. And you guys do a great job of cleaning that data through your enhanced solution. That's kind of the differentiator between you and some of your competitors. But I think, kind of where what we look at is clean processes. We go into a lot of places and we see not clean processes. We see a lot of, there's 50 ways of doing something. There's 50 different data receptacles. There's data going here. There's data going there. And that's where your company comes in and says, we can do this, but we need to clean this up first. We can do this, but we need to fix this. We need to ensure that we have the correct process to make some of this function appropriately. And certainly on the shipper side, you have kind of a finite data stream, for lack of a better word, because all-encompassing amounts of data coming in. But on the carrier or the broker side, depending on the health of their processes and their technology, you might have a lot of work to do to clean that up, right?
Yeah, in fact, we are constantly challenged with the ops team or someone at the carrier or 3PL does something because they were taught to do it a specific way. It might not be the most efficient way. It might not be the quickest path to point A to B. And so when we come in to review a process, we're also trying to deploy like a best in class like way of performing a task and cutting a lot of the fat. Now, when you think about that from a systems perspective, that might make that I have to insert a button into a page that doesn't exist, or I have to change the way that a page loads to make sure that I can get to the area that I want, because that's the most important piece of my position. What we're trying not to do is just be a middleware company that just automates the exact replication of what your human has done, because in a lot of cases, they're not doing it the way that's the best for your organization.
Right. Nope. No, I didn't want this to all just be about automation and AI. By all means, I didn't want it to be about AI, because you're out there, you're talking about this a lot, and people can search Chad Olesen and get a podcast a week about Chad and Chad's background. and where Chad came from and all those things. One thing you talk about a lot on LinkedIn is leadership and sales, and we're in alignment on a lot of that, and we interact quite a bit when we have time, or when it's impactful on those subjects. So when we first kind of aligned to have this, which this is the longest I think I've ever scheduled a guest out. So I think we scheduled this in like early May. Yeah, I think it was longer than that. But we said, let's do something different. And so we came up with a debate style format. So we can start setting up the debate here, Jeremy, if you don't mind. And the debate's going to be around leadership and sales. So now we may pivot here and say, okay, we're gonna start being a yeah, we don't want Bain. Bain's not the debate. Okay. Well, those pictures. Oh, we got to click there we go. All right. So we may end up shifting this and say, okay, one of us is going to take a different opinion just for argumentative standpoint. So if we're all just saying, yep, I agree. So that's not going to go. But so Bain's put together a number of questions. Actually, Chad and I didn't review them ahead of time. So we're coming in pretty green here. So so really, well, I think we just present it and whatever rules or anything you want to put into play, Bain, you kind of own it. So
cool. So as far as rules go, it's no holds barred. Obviously making sure it's clean for Reach Across America. I do want to say just on the definition of automation, just to add to that, the machines are going to take our jobs, so we can either fear it or just welcome our robot overlords and just enjoy it. So if anyone's ever wondering, I'm here for the levity.
If I wasn't at a customer's office right now, I would probably comment deeper onto that.
I always joke about that it's the robots taking our jobs. No, it's the robots taking the parts of our jobs that suck. Absolutely. And allowing us to do the stuff that's way cooler.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll comment a little deeper. The way that we see that going is you're going to be running a team of robots. I mean, that's really the way that I see it going is
until they run you.
Well, fair enough. But you can watch whatever science fiction movie you want, but there's a Homer Simpson level view of this. You have certain things that have to operate within parameters, and as this continues to grow, dependent upon the use case, but there are things that have to operate within parameters, and we have to monitor, and we have to be able to take over and resolve. You also have the implementation of these products, which are very difficult in comparison to former software solutions. They're different. They're completely different. So as things move forward, the jobs are shifting. They're going to change, and you're going to have greater detail, better data. As you get more data, there's going to be more things that people are going to want to do and control and whatnot. So to expand upon that. So
I wrote this post yesterday that automation's not coming, it's here. And it's because I was with a client who has almost 1,000 of our automations deployed. And I didn't know that they had that many until I was in their office and we started looking at numbers, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think that some companies realize how long people have been working on this, and some of the teams that are here to support it. I think that I would wake a lot of people up if they realized how far some companies were in their automation journey.
And someone commented on that post how far behind they are.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the more interesting one, is how far behind some companies are. I mean, some companies take it for granted. They have 1,000 automations. Then someone goes to another company that has 0 and goes, well, wait a second, I used to click a button and X, Y, and Z happened. And now none of this happens anymore. So that's a huge, huge difference between just two competing providers in a space. So,
yeah.
So on to our show today. we have Christopher Demillo, the Vice President of IT with Leonard's Express, with nearly 2 decades of experience in supply chain logistics. Christopher is a visionary in process improvement and the application of technology like AI, machine learning, and automation. He's passionate about transforming the industry, and outside of work, he enjoys traveling with his family, attending sporting events, and hiking in the mountains. Joining Chris is Mike McGovern. Mike is the Executive Vice President of Leonard's Express with 17 years at the company. Mike has been instrumental in shaping us, balancing his roots in Rochester, New York, and has lived in California for quite some time. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nate. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been some time. We were just talking about that. I think I saw you both last. Well, Chris, I saw recently in Las Vegas, and Mike, I think it's been since July or so. So yeah. It's great seeing you.
Glad to be here.
Good to see you.
So let's start this out. How is technology driving change in the logistics industry? And I think we already talked a little bit about this, but particularly at Leonard's.
Sure. Mike, you want to tee that one off?
Yeah. So I think in the last 12 months, we've adapted several new changes to our technology portfolio. The first big one was Isaac. We moved all of our ELDs into Isaac. This last February, we completed that task. And it certainly was a provider that had a lot more horsepower for us, that could lead a lot of the data-driven decisions in a better direction for us. And Chris spearheaded that. And, I think we thought it was going to be very painful. Because it's a lot of mix between machine, people, and learning that's got to happen quickly to pull that off. But we did it rather quickly throughout the country, and it was pretty successful. And then obviously for a long time we've been researching an AI platform to help us in planning load acceptance, making smarter decisions with our trucks. And we did that with Optimal Dynamics, and we've also partnered with KSM on Freight Math to be a little bit more to guide us into understanding our network a little bit more than its DNA. And we have them all working in combination right now. OD was the most recent to be started. We're only 4 weeks into that. But have I missed any new changes we've made this year, Chris?
From a technology perspective, no. Those were 2 big endeavors.
Keep bringing new ones to me like every other week. So I feel like that was a lot this year. We can slow down a bit. We can.
Yeah. There's certainly a lot out there. And I think I think going back. Taking a step backwards there and how we're approaching some of this freight tech solutions that are out there. We love technology, right? And I don't think we're alone in the industry. I think that there's a lot of gravitation to new shiny things. I know I'm guilty of it, right? I see bells and whistles out there and I see a problem, how that correlates internally, and I want to ram it in. And that's just my style to go. But I think something we've done very well in the last probably 3 years or since COVID was slow down the evaluation, the procurement process, and the decision making, and it's getting different. A cross-functional team internally here to evaluate that solution, put it through its motions, do the proof of concept, proof of value. Understand really the business problem we're trying to solve here at Leonard's. And, out of that process change in the last several years, we've been able to accomplish a couple of these new endeavors that Mike had mentioned this year pretty successfully. And I'm very excited to be a part of some of that.
It's easy it's easy to fall victim of buying the new shiny object and not getting it going.
Very.
Very easy, and it's a costly mistake, and a lot of it's just slowing down that process of reviewing what we're going to do. I think with OD, it was an 18-month endeavor that we took very seriously from when we started searching to implementation.
Well, if you get it wrong, it's far longer than 18 months, and it's far more costly than a one-time purchase. So getting it right is imperative, and taking that extra time, especially for an organization your size, you just have to make the right decisions, especially for the larger purchases. The smaller purchases, you can shoot from the hip if you need to, or you make multiple purchases and decide. But the larger purchases like ELD and optimization, those have to be correct. You can't. The cost of making poor purchases, they impact drivers, they impact staff, they impact morale, and you just can't have that. So.
Well, and we, part of our, or at least part of my thought process in all of that investment and alignment is working with the right vendors that are willing to grow and work with you too. I can go buy any product off the shelf and stuff it in, right? But it's finding the right organization or the right people, the right strategies. Because there's no perfect solution out there, right? Every product, every vendor, every solution is going to have a bugaboo about it, right? But can it be overcome? Can we figure out a different solution? Are they willing to work with us to figure out a different solution? And that what makes me that makes me pretty happy over the last several investments or partnerships that we've had is being able to grow and work together and further enhance, further simplify, further integrate, right? Integration is so key right now with data.
No, great answer. I'm going to roll back on this question just a little bit. Do you feel, and it's maybe outside of what you've just called out in the way of the two solutions, but do you feel, overarching in transportation, that there's any specific technology that's maybe driving change for the industry right now, or pushing change for the industry right now, whether you've adopted it or not? Just what do you feel maybe is leading that?
I think it's a different answer depending on the size of your organization,
Sure.
Right? If you're sub 20 trucks, you're trying to find a way to get freight in your door easier, with less hurdles, more consistency for your drivers. If you're someone of our size, you're trying to find data processes that are easier to find efficiencies and, so solutions that we needed desperately aren't quite what a 10 truck operator needs.
Right.
So I don't know if there's a one size fits all answer there. I mean, certainly we both need better paying freight today. I don't think anyone would argue that. But that may not be a technology driven solution. But I think the size of the organization really dictates different needs today.
No, that's fair enough. Chris, do you have an answer to that, or?
Well, I think I agree with Mike here on the carrier side. It depends on the size of your organization and the different sectors or problems that you're trying to solve. I think the industry as a whole, there's so much opportunity or disruption happening, right? Whether it's on the shipper side, whether it's the middleman platforms of the world, and the carrier side, all the way down to right in cab technology. So, I think that the scope of injecting technology is endless, and there's a lot of big players out there. There's a lot of VC money coming in, and there's a lot of problems to solve. If chances are, if if you're a carrier or, you know, logistics company, and you've got a business problem, chances are 300 other people do, and there's a solution out there for it, right? So, and it's navigating. I think the bigger problem right now and I know I've seen it, or I'm experiencing it, I think, is navigating through all of the solutions, navigating through the weeds of all the stuff that's popped up, figuring out the long players, figuring out really what's going to stick in the industry, and grabbing onto it and running with it.
That's primarily what I do for a living. So I agree with you entirely. There's so many.
Something I do want to back up that we should have mentioned is, no matter the technology that we choose or the devices we put in, the risk control component and safety component and how it works throughout the your organization is just as important as the bottom line. And it all has it's all connected. Decisions and process changes at the dispatch level impact your drivers and their safety. And that is the one universal thing, that needs to be the forefront of all carriers as a whole. And it's something that we hold very sacred at Leonard's. But there's technology out there that's changes a driver's daily routine, changes the way they drive, what they're comfortable with. If we don't make sure that they're comfortable with it prior, that's a big deal. So it's certainly that's one component when you're looking at any technology that the focus has to stay on.
No, great point. I'm going to add to that to a little bit, or add a little bit to what you just said. So when you are searching, if anyone's searching for a technology platform, ensure that the reason you are searching for a technology platform is to exploit a positive, not to exploit a negative. So I was speaking with someone and they said this new solution allowed them to do more spot market freight. And I said, is that what you really want to do? And they said, well, no, but it allows us to do it faster. And I said, well, then why would you do that? Why not just sell? Why would you double down into that particular solution to allow you to be more accessible in the spot market? A perfect example of that. But always look at technology solutions. If it allows your team to practice poor processes, and there are lots of solutions right now out there that are allowing companies to do this, whatever those poor processes may be, don't go down those roads. Safety, operations, sales, marketing, there's lots of great solutions that offer optimization and optimization and enhancement to your operations and back office. So just beware of those solutions. Welcome to the Driving Forward podcast. Whether you're joining us live or listening on one of our 18 platforms, including Reefs Across America Radio, where we broadcast every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time, we appreciate your support. Today, I'm very excited to have an absolute legend in transportation technology, or just generally in transportation, as my guest. Tom McLeod is the founder and owner of McLeod Software. A pioneer in the industry, Tom has dedicated his career to revolutionizing the way trucking, freight brokerage, and logistics companies operate. His company has not only stood the test of time, but continues to lead the industry in innovation. We'll dive into his journey, his perspective on the freight market, and where he sees transportation technology heading next. Tom, welcome to Driving Forward. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Well, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. I don't know if I can live up to being legend. Really, in person, that's normally a letdown. I'm better as a myth or, somebody out there. Yeah. But it's great to be here today. Good to be with you.
Yeah, I truly appreciate you coming on. Going back to when I first entered the industry, I mean, my first TMS honestly was a card filing system, but then after that, it actually was McLeod. So this is a joy, and I've been in the industry nearly 30 years. So you've actually been a footprint in the industry longer. So this is going to be a lot of fun to chat about that. And, this is a treat to have this discussion. So let's roll into some questions on AI that I have. I know that McLeod is rolling down that direction. Actually, first off, I'm gonna congratulate you. I think I was at FreightWaves F3, and McLeod won the Freight Tech Top 25, actually number 16 spot. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Actually, I meant to count how many customers or partners were in the top 25. It's the vast majority of them. So of GLCSs. So in some fashion or another, we are partnered with, or they are our customers. At least 15, if not more than that, are in the top 25. So we were excited to see that. But congratulations on that. Can you chat about some misconceptions, and I'll probably chime in plenty on this as well, about using AI in transportation logistics?
Well, some of the things that the new large language models, the chat GPTs, can do are so, visibly remarkable that, people can jump to the conclusion, oh, these things can figure anything out.
Right.
But really they can't. They're models that are trained and can do certain things, and then, have to be trained and extended. I think there's no question that over time they are going to continue to do more and more remarkable things. But for me, they're really just an extension of what we've been doing all along, which was, let's make the operation a little more efficient. If the truck's already been dispatched, let's print the freight bill from the information in the system and not make somebody sit down and type everything again. If we've got the truck dispatched, we've got the driver's pay rate, let's automate the printing of that paycheck. So all of these steps in the improvements in efficiency and productivity, the AI will simply be an extension of that. It's just another computer program. It can be expensive. It can be free to, try out some stuff on GPT, Chat GPT, and some of the other large language models. But, the companies that are developing these products are investing hundreds of millions of dollars to make them go, and they're looking for a revenue stream coming back. And so some of the products rolling out, are going to reflect that. So it'll be something that happens over time. It's not that, by middle of January next year, bam, everybody's going to be using AI. But I would say you need to get on the train, and you need to start looking, because there are going to be tools that are going to have some immediate application and that will be able to improve the operation. And the companies that want to compete need to stay up on there and keep their productivity levels continue moving up.
So you said it probably better than I could have, but almost verbatim. And I struggle with AI on many platforms, and it's a common topic. It's a topic that I honestly have a conversation about with one customer or another nearly every day. And I actually have a group that I'm speaking with right now that, instead of cleaning up processes, they're looking at using an AI solution to clean up their process. And obviously my response to that is that's not going to solve your problem. That's probably going to create a lot more of a problem. So what's your thought on something like that, where you have a trucking company that has dirty processes? They feel like they have an AI solution that's going to help them clean up their data, going to help them clean up their processes, and AI is the answer to that.
Yeah, this is a story that's as old as computers rolling out, which is not that old, but going back 30 or 40 years, if you've got a process that's messed up and you put a computer in, well, then you're just going to get there that much faster.
Right.
With a process that's messed up. You've got to first, have good process, have reliable ways of doing things, and then you've got something you can automate and see a big pickup in efficiency. The Chat GPT is not going to come in and take the place of your mom, make you clean up your room, get on to you. If you don't, it'll again learn from your current process and duplicate it even faster if you're not careful. So certainly good management and good process will continue to be the key.
As we wrap up this episode of Driving Forward, I'm feeling incredibly grateful for everything this past year has brought. Running a busy business is never easy. It's a grind, a constant push. It's also one of the most rewarding experiences you can have. And this podcast has become a huge part of that journey. Over the past year, we've released over 52 weekly episodes of Driving Forward alone. That's 52 conversations, 52 deep dives into stories and ideas that make this industry what it is. Looking back, I see just how much we've grown. Some episodes still feel raw, but that's the beauty of this process. It's real. It's about progress, not perfection. If I've learned one thing this year, it's that there's always more to learn. And I'm excited about what the next year will bring. New challenges, new opportunities, and new ways to connect with all of you. When I started Driving Forward, my goal was simple. I wanted to improve myself. I needed some improvement with public speaking, and I committed to getting better at it. And while I'm still a work in progress, I've come a long way. More importantly, I wanted to create a platform to amplify voices in our industry, voices that don't always get the spotlight or stories that aren't always heard. I've been so inspired by the stories we've uncovered and the insights we've shared. This industry is full of incredible people, and it's been an honor to bring their stories to light. In 2025, I'm doubling down on that mission. We're going to keep seeking out the untold stories, asking the tough questions, and sharing insights that matter, whether you're a driver, a fleet owner, or part of the logistics ecosystem. I've learned that showing up matters, whether it's through this podcast, my daily posts, or my Tuesday trips. I strive to show up consistently for this community, and that's something I'll continue to do. But let me be clear, this isn't a one-person show. Driving Forward has become a team effort. It really always has been a team effort, but it's more of a team than ever. There's a crew of people behind the scenes who make this podcast possible, and I'm incredibly grateful for their support and for their commitment. Now let's talk about the future. 2024 was about building a foundation. But in 2025, we're talking about taking things to a whole new level. We've got some big plans, some new stories, bigger conversations, and bold moves to push the boundaries of what's possible in this space. As I always say, we'll continue to push the boundaries of what's possible. And let me tell you, we're just getting started. So as we close out the year, I want to say a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you. Whether you've been here from the start or you just found us, your support means the world. If 2025 is anything like 2024, it's going to be one hell of a ride. Hold on to your hats because we're just getting started. And I can't wait to take this journey with you all. Let's make 2025 a year to remember. Thanks for watching.